Hello. Hi. All right. Good. Mark here. Now we're gonna do this a bit more to this badger picture. Get the camera in the right place so you can actually see what I'm doing. Now then, as you can see, I've made a bit of progress since we were last here. I thought I would try and make a bit of progress on it. Now, this is a story that I've been playing around with for some time now. Well, an illustration from that called George the Badger's Day Out. Of course, he goes for a walk with his grandfather, and which is, fine. Quite common occurrence, though not probably so much at the minute, due to this virus and what have you. But he tends to get himself into various scrapes, this young George. And on this occasion, although he's with his grandfather, it's not really any different. Now, up to now, they went flying with young Diggy, the mole here, who actually is a bit of an inventor as well. And made a nice balloon out of an old plastic dustbin. And of course, some balloons. And off they went flying until they were rudely shot out of the air by some not very pleasant weasels that were actually working for a wicked witch who was after George to complete a power spell that she was working on. And a part of the ingredients of this particular spell were badger feet. Eye of newt, feet of badger. Now then, I know that's not very nice, is it at all? And it had to be a young badger, and the only young badger nearby is George. Now, he's actually got various friends that are going to help him in this situation. Obviously, one being his grandfather, and one Diggy the Mole. Now, they're on their way to see a witch called Belinda Batcrazy, who lives in a belfry with obviously some bats, as her name would infer. And so far, they have had help from the Fox King, who actually let them borrow one of his narrow boats so they could float down the river with his own personal bodyguard of several foxes. And they had the good fortune to be lent a motor car and a motorbike, a VW camper van. So it's all happening. It's all happening in the world of George the Badger, who's normally, like I said, a very happy soul. But a few things have been happening lately that put him slightly under pressure, one might say. And a few surprising revelations about Grandfather Badger is the fact that he's also a fully paid up member ninja, complete with martial arts and all the trimmings, so to speak. And he actually, when they got shot out of the air by the weasels, which is not a pleasant experience, as you probably can imagine, managed to save George and Diggy, chased the weasels off, and like I said, they went to see the Fox King, and we are where we are now. I know. You couldn't make it up, could you? You couldn't make it up. I mean, if you think this is madcap, you want to come and live in my house for a while. Yeah. We've got all sorts of characters to live here at the moment. 3 dragons, 500 goblins, gonks, yeah, trogs, and trolls. Yes. Mayhem. Edith and the chickens, they live here. It's quite a full house most of the time. Quite a full house. Now, we quite like these tweedy type coats. Now, the way I do these is quite simple, really. But I try and follow the pattern of the cloth as best I can, but it doesn't always work out that way. But yes, we've got various adventures going on at the moment, which is quite interesting. We have a witch with very smelly feet who's had her shoe stolen. Now, I know you might say to yourself, well, that's not very serious. But it is, when you consider she's got probably the smelliest feet in the world. If not any world, certainly this one. Yep, she sure has. And with no shoes on, you can imagine the smell from her feet, the odour, one might say, could actually kill your houseplants. And that's not a good thing, is it? No, of course not. But that's a different story altogether, which I will get back to at some stage. We have to keep abreast of all these events. Try and keep up if you can. It's a slightly madcap world we live in. Now then, what we do, because this is like a tweed material. Now I've found the best way to do like a tweed material, like you can actually see I've already done it to George's jacket, is that this piece of paper, this piece of paper is stopping me putting my hand on what we've already drawn. So hopefully I don't smudge it so much. You can see that it's picked up some of the paper, but we try not to smudge it too much. So that is what we tend to do. And then we're going to try to do a bit more to the character here. This is Diggy the Mole. I know it's not a very original nickname, but then it's his nickname, so what could I do? We can't go changing somebody's name just because it doesn't sound very interesting. And of course, he takes offense to that anyway, because he thinks his name is very interesting. Now, these moles tend to have a bit more of a snout of a nose, because they have very keen sense of smell. Which is great if you're a mole, not so good if you're something like an earthworm. Now, this little fella has a bit of a pink tip to his nose. So we're going to put that in here, like so. But the rest of him is a quite nice sort of, excuse me, my glasses are falling down my nose again. Grey fur, which he's very proud of. It keeps very clean. And that is that. Now again, what we do with young fella my lads here is glasses, little spectacles that rest on the end of his nose. And don't worry about how they stay on the end of his nose. They just do. Of course, in the realms of cartooning, make-believe, whatever we want, we can make happen. And let nobody tell you otherwise. Oh, they will. Oh, they'll say things like, oh, that's not. That doesn't exist. Well, let me tell you something, you people that say such things. None of this exists outside of our imagination. And if you've got a good imagination, then it's fine and it's all real. And let's face it, at this present time, we could all do with a bit of escapism. Now, this jacket's got an elasticated razor. The way we get that is to simply like so, and that gives us the effect that we were going for. And these moles have quite large fingers because they're designed to dig tunnels, and they tend to do that with their bare hands. Indeed they do, although our present little mole chap here has got a rather nice trowel that he uses for such a task. But again, that's something for another day. Now then, he's looking quite dapper, isn't he? And he's got his little pair of shoes on. Now we're going to tidy up this helmet bit a bit, I think. Because what we got here is his lamp that he uses when he's digging tunnels. So you can see, because moles, in actuality, do not have terribly good eyesight. So they need all the help they can get. So, like I said, this chap uses a rather splendid light on his hat. Now his hat is bright yellow. And don't let anybody tell you any different. And we got this creamy sort of colour because this is sheepskin. But young fella my lad's coat here. Now then, we're going to do some of this tweed effect, won't we? And what I tend to do is do some little dots. I don't know if you've ever seen tweed, but it's quite coarse when you get this sort of spiky sort of thing going with it, and you can make that look a bit like it's a tweed. Now this takes a long time to do, so I'm not going to waste time doing that now. When we've got things like moles to do with their bright yellow hats, for example, or their construction hats, you see. Oh yes, if you're going to go down a hole and do some tunneling, you definitely need a hard hat on. Well, you never know, you might have a cave in, and that would be disastrous if you haven't got a hard hat. And that with all sorts of bumps on your head, and you won't want that. You don't want a bumpy noggin. So there we are. Put a bit of orange on it, give it a darker effect. Now, what we're going to do with these, you can see I've done it to the wizard spectacles already. We're going to add a pale blue to that, to give the impression of the glasses. But I'm not going to put anything on the other side, because if I do, then it won't work, because it'll just end up dark, you see. But that has quite a pleasing effect, you see. And they're all wearing very smart metal rimmed glasses. And that's how they do it, you see. Like so. And there's the mole. More or less finished, just darkened his hands maybe a bit. Because they haven't got pink actually underneath their hands, but of course you can't actually see that now. Now this particular bow tie, I think we're going to have like a pinky red polka dot. I think that'll work. Now, like I said before, if you're doing characters, well, what I would do to make it easier to recognize each character is to give them distinctive things: clothing, glasses, hair. I mean, if you take characters like Charlie Brown, instantly recognizable, being drawn many times, and like I said, instantly recognizable. And that's what you want. If you're going to do a series about characters, you've got to be able to do them. I mean, that will come with practice. The same every time. If you ever get the chance, and I'm sure you will, if you haven't already, if you have a look at the Winnie the Pooh original illustrations, not so much the American Disney Corporation cartoons, which are fine and they're kind of cute. In fact, I have a couple of the mugs on the table right where I am working now, with pens in. But if you look at the lovely A.A. Milne, Winnie the Pooh original stories, now I can't remember who did the illustrations, so you're going to have to forgive me on that. But he did do a lot of rather simple pencil illustrations. They're well worth a look, because I use them as inspiration for my work quite a bit. I do quite a lot of pencil. Well, if you're going to do a storybook, for example, like the sort of thing like this is going to be for, then it's quite good to have a few just quick pencil sketches to fill in now and again. Because if you're doing action scenes in a book, they could take quite a long time to draw. And of course, like everything else in the world, although that might be changing now, I suppose, because I think it should. You gotta stop all this rushing about. You gotta stop to enjoy your life a bit. Because as we're finding out now, the wheels can fall off your ideal world pretty quickly. And none of us want that. I certainly don't. Now these erasers in the end of these, I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if you can see that. Pencils are brilliant. And you can get replacements, which I've actually managed to do. But before you go out and order things like that, that's one of the things I always check. Because there are some wonderful pens out there to use. But you want to make sure you can get the spare bits, the leads, because these are very fine leads. But the reason I use these pattern pencils, I think they're probably called, is that you get a consistent size pencil. Now, if I was to use a proper old-fashioned wooden graphite pencil, you'd be forever sharpening it to keep the point. But with these, this is a 0.505. You don't have to do that. Which is kind of useful within itself. And if you want to, you could go over everything very faintly to start with, to do your sketching out, and then you can see what I'm doing now. It almost is as dark as it would be if you were doing a pen and ink drawing, which is excellent. Saves a lot of time. Don't have to keep buying materials because they seem to get more and more expensive. I don't actually increase my prices anywhere near like as quick as some of these art shops do. Now, I'm not saying they don't have to do that, because the running costs are quite dear. Now, I find if you're going to shade in things with just a pencil, it pays to keep shading to go in one direction. And even when you go over the top of it at a later date to maybe darken it and to give it like a cross diamond effect like that, you always go one way and then the other. You don't have to, it's just something I do, and it might make life easier for you, which is what we're all about. Because I've been doing these kinds of drawings, not quite maybe as good as these, because you get better with practice, like everything else. For near on 40 years, I suppose. I can remember many a Christmases in London visiting my grandparents, trying to copy the Giles cartoons out of the current Giles Christmas Annual, which were cartoon family. The Giles. Yes, that's where I got a lot of my sort of things from my drawings. Not necessarily ideas, because it wasn't the sort of thing I did, but just to look at somebody who's so gifted. But of course they don't tend to do cartoons like that anymore. There are some great cartoonists around, but that's real old school, really. And another cartoon that I used to learn a lot from was the Old Saint Trinian chap. Now, as far as I understand, he was in a Japanese concentration camp, and he used to draw the girls of Saint Trinian and tell the stories to try and help keep morale up amongst the men, which is a lovely idea. Bad times, sometimes very good things come out of very bad times. And I'm not so much talking about your modern Saint Trinian films. I'm talking really more about the old black and white Saint Trinian films. My mum used to take me to see at pictures years ago. And of course now they're on television quite often. A joy to watch. A joy to watch. And I watch them all the time. So there. Now this one is which here. Now I did work out all the names for these guys, but I've lost a piece of paper. I know. I will find it. That I put all their names on. I ought to be able to remember, but I can't. It's my old brain cells disappearing one by one. Yes, indeedy. Now then, we're making some progress. I don't think we've got much more to do to this particular picture. Just one or two of the highlights, maybe. Now, what I tend to do with these mushrooms, or toadstools if you like, when I put these white dots on, I tend to make them come over the edge slightly, so it's more, I don't know, like a wart than a flat, because I think if you look at them in the wild, that's pretty much how they look. And it has quite a pleasing effect, I think you'll agree, if you look at the ones I've done already. And we used to draw a lot of toadstools and mushrooms and pictures and things in the 70s for various reasons that I'm not going to go into right now, but we did. This is what I tend to do when I'm doing these characters. I tend to bring out the grass just a bit from where they're standing, because we don't want to draw every blade of grass, because that way we just clutter up the picture, which we don't really want to do, you know, but because we don't want to take the attention away from what will actually the main characters. So one of the main reasons I found out to do this over the, if you look at a photograph, the background is blurred and the focus is on the particular image that you wanted to take a picture of, whether it's a tree or whatever. I mean, I'm talking about if you're doing characters, people, maybe you you notice it probably more. If you're doing a landscape, obviously you want the whole thing to be in focus. But when you're doing portraits of people or pictures with people on, and you want a particular person for this to be focused on, then that is basically what you would do. I think we're very nearly there. I don't think I'm going to do a lot more to this picture. These hands in with a bit of pink, bit of flesh tone to match his face. Yes, I know sometimes I do these witches and wizards green, but on this particular occasion I'm not going to do that. So that's nearly done, I think. I think so. I don't think I'm going to do a lot more than that. I'm going to make a decision about the stone in the star. Now I think we're going to make that a nice bright emerald, because I quite like emeralds. So there. Yeah, so it's your picture. You can do whatever you want with it. Now we're slightly coming out of the shot, so let's move that down here. You can see my ample tummy just sticking out there, which is a bit of a treat for some of you, I dare say. There we go. We're going to do this in the top here. How's that? Now, this little witch here, we could actually do green, couldn't we? Because we can't really see her because of the old wizard's arm, but we can get the idea that she's actually there, and I think that's about it. Now, all that remains to be seen, really, I don't know. You can see the whole thing, and scan up. Look at that, special effects. I do like the special effects. Now I think, like I said, this picture's more or less done for our needs anyway. Like I said, if you just want to add to these pictures, you can. Keep going, keep going. I often do. Often come back to a piece of work and do a bit more to it. I tend to sort of, when I'm doing commissions and things, I tend to put the picture up as I'm doing it so I can see. Quite often that way I see new things that need to be done. Now then, we want some green, some greenery. Now where's the greenery? Too bright, too bright, too bright. That's not green. Now what have I done with the green? That's the trouble. That's not bad. That will use some of this. You see, just to add a bit of colour into this. Don't need to do too much. Just a hint here and there. I mean, you can do if you want to go over the top, but I'm not going to with this, I'm afraid, because it's all time and I want to get on. I actually fell asleep, so I'm running a bit late on all of this actually. I wanted to start another picture tonight, but I'll have to wait till tomorrow now, I think. Okay, now all we've got to do with this chap is sign it. It's important to sign your work. There we go. And the year. Don't know if any of my work will survive, but you never know. It'd be nice one day, wouldn't it? Somebody to have a look at that. So, oh yes, that was the year of that terrible COVID-19 outbreak. When everybody's living on the moon by then, probably. And still moaning, I dare say. Oh, I wish we were back on Earth. So much better when we were on Earth. You can hear him now. Never ever happy. There we go. That's that one finished. I hope you enjoyed watching me do this. It's not a lesson, it's how I do it. If you want to follow some of my hints and whatever, it's up to you. Now take care. Now if you want to subscribe, that would be lovely. Thank you. Mark saying bye bye for now.